Hello everyone and welcome. Now today we're going to be working with some dies here that are called the Painted Daisies and Ladybugs etched die set. And they're Susan Tiernery-Cockburn. And each one of these has on it how many times you need to die cut them out. It's actually engraved right there on your die so that you'll know how many times you need to die cut them out for a single flower. So, and these are the petals, you actually are die cutting them out twice for the single petals. The leaves is 3 times, and then the flower centers, it says 3 times, but it'll give you a bunch. I don't quite do 3, I think I do 2, and I don't even use all of those. So I've sped up the die cutting just so I could leave it in, and what I'm using here is some watercolor paper because I'm going to do some watercoloring. And so I've chosen to use that. And it's good thick paper. So this is really going to have some dimension on this card. And I'm just going to get all my pieces ready to go. And I'm just using some scrap pieces of watercolor paper that I had laying around. And so I'm getting those kind of out of my craft room and off of my little credenza where they were sitting. I'm going to get rid of those. And I've got some black and red here, and I am just die cutting out the little ladybug that comes with it. I'm not going to use it on my card. I will assemble it and show it to you, but I'm not going to put it on this card because I'm going to go with some really light pinks, and I just don't really want that red and black on there. So anyway, I've got all of my pieces here, and I'm going to bring in some of my Distressed Oxide inks, and I'm going to use this little water brush. It's just a cheap little brush that I got at the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to do some watercoloring. And it is not my strength. I dabble in it occasionally, and I thought it would be fun since these are called I grabbed the wrong die. Since these are called the Painted Daisies, I thought it would be fun to actually paint them. I started to say perfect touch arches because I am going to use that for my background on this. So I've got spun sugar, kitsch flamingo, mowed lawn, and pine needles. And I'm going to bring in lumberjack plaid as well because I want to create like a darker pink than what I've got there. And so since I'm going to use this brush for all of it, I'm going to start off with my lightest color. And I'm just going to get some water down from my little plastic brush there, and I'll kind of wet these down, and then we'll get to watercoloring. And I will speed this up as well because it does take a bit of time. I think I sped the die cutting and then the watercoloring up to 5 times the actual speed. So I was just laying some water down on there first, and now I'm just picking up the lightest color, and I'm kind of putting it out toward the, I guess the 2/3 of the flower kind of out toward the edge. And I'm just getting some light color down. I want my tips to pretty much remain white, and then I'm going to go darker as I move in toward the center of the flower when I use the other colors. And I'm doing both sizes kind of the same way. I'm bringing the pink out a little bit more on the smaller one than I did on the larger one. I left more white on it. Then I'm going to bring my kitsch flamingo and just kind of add it to kind of over the top of that lighter pink and then into the center of the florals. Now, not all of them will matter because we're going to layer them, but I did just go ahead and kind of watercolor them all the same in the center, even though that's not necessary because that's where we're going to layer. But we're just going to have some light pink color going down on these, and I think they're going to be really pretty. So we'll just continue to do, all of them the same way. Now this is where I'm bringing in that lumberjack plaid, and I'm just kind of trying to create a little bit of a darker pink. And I'm just going to do it on these 2 smaller ones. I don't need to do it on the larger ones. And this is kind of how they'll layer together. Now this particular daisy, you could curl the leaves on the petals. You could curl them, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to just leave them flat. I'm bringing in my mowed lawn first, which is my lighter green, and then I'll bring in some pine needles and just add some additional shading to these leaves that we've got here, or stems or whatever. I don't know. So I'm just going to mix the pine needles in there, and I'm just going to kind of rub the edges to kind of give a shadow on the like the bottom of them. And I'm just using that paper towel to lift off any if I've got too much on there. And I'm just kind of giving it some dimension by adding the different colors. And then that'll get all of our ink, our watercoloring done, I believe. Actually, I bring in ground espresso, and I know I'm going to lay those stars, the little stars down on this because they go in the center of this flower. And I thought I'd just go ahead and put some brown back on that flower so that it'll kind of blend in with the little stars that I put on there. Now here I'm coloring this up brown because I want to die cut my stars out with a brown color, and so I'm just using the scraps there. And I should have ink blended both sides of it because we're going to curl these a little bit with my stylus that I have there in my hand, and I'll realize that in a minute. And I did the back side of this one knowing that I was going to die cut it out again, and that way I'd have some color on the backs of that. And I'm going to go ahead and lay those down and dye. And then I realized I could just run these through the backs of that ink, the backs of them through that ink there, and get color on them, the ones that I already did. And I'm just really adding some ink to them, making sure they get, because like I said, I'm going to curl these a little bit, and I don't want the white to show on it. And I'm going to go ahead and do a second pass because it said you needed three passes of this particular one for one flower, but I found that it was more than enough. So now I've got a rubber mat there, and I'm just laying these stars on there, and I'm going to use that stylus. I'm just going to cup them all. And I'm taking the smallest part of my stylus. That stylus has a smaller tip and then a larger tip, and I'm using the smaller one, and I'm just cupping all of these because I'm going to lay them on my flower. And you can see I have just plenty of them. And all I'm doing is pushing right in the center of that star, and it's drawing the edges up and creating a cup with it. And now I'm going to bring in my glossy accents and use it to add some glue, some clear dimension, and we'll get all of these little stars laid down on this one here that I've added the brown to. And it's clogged up, so I'm going to have to get a pen and get it unclogged. And we'll just add this to the center of our flower. And I've got a good amount on there, so I'm just going to, I thought I was going to use these tweezers, but they're just too small, you know, and I thought I just need to get my pickup tool. And so I'm going to grab one of those, and I'm just going to start picking them up and dropping them in that glossy accent so that they can adhere down. And just kind of dropping them and letting them lay in any old direction because you want different parts to stick up and just to really make it very dimensional. And so I'm just going to go until I fill up the center of this and just add as many as I think I need, and I will have plenty. So I just started on one edge, and I'm just working my way around the center of this. And it really does create some great dimension. And I'm going to add some foam between my layers of petals, and that will help too. And like I said, I could have curled these petals, and that would have made some additional dimension, but I didn't. I just elected not to do that. If I'd use it again another time, I might choose to do that. That would be fun. So I'm just using the pointy end just to kind of get everywhere that I want. I'm going to add a little bit more of the glossy accents and put some more down there on the one side. It looked like it needed a bit more. Just tucking it in. And I'll get all of this out of the way. I'm just showing you the tips of the stylus there. And we're going to lay that aside and let that dry. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to add some foam tape between each of these layers so that we'll have additional dimension. Now, I watercolored these, and then I had to go and do something and come back to it. And when I got finished watercoloring and I was getting ready to leave, I thought, I'm not sure I like these. I'm not sure I'm going to use them. And when I came back to my craft room later, I thought, no, I do like these, and I think they're going to work out fine. And so I did go ahead and use them, and I'm really pleased with how the card comes together and how it looks. I think it turns out really pretty. So sometimes you got to give your projects a second look before you throw them in the trash. I found that out recently on another video in which I used some lunar paste on an embossed panel, and it was so thick that I didn't feel like I could see any of my embossing, and I threw it in the trash. And then later I went to throw something else away, and I looked at it, and it dried beautifully. Now here I'm showing you all of the detail on there, and it looks like I could add maybe another one there in the center. So I'm going to add a little bit more glossy accent, and I'll just pick up another one of those and lay it down in the center there. And I think it turns out really pretty. And I'll just get it positioned where I want it. And now we're going to start working on our leaves. Isn't that pretty? And here, you can kind of lift them, and you could curl them if you wanted to curl them, but I didn't choose to do that. So then these leaves, I am going to curl them up just so that they'll stick in every little different direction and kind of look more interesting on the card. And this is a quick. It would take me a lot longer to curl the petals than it will these leaves. Now here I'm going to assemble the ladybug. And you've got both pieces of the ladybug on the die, so I just ran them both through the red and both through the black, and I'm just going to grab the black base and put the red on top of it and glue it down with just a tiny little bit of glue. I thought I might use it, but then once my card all came together, I decided I wasn't going to put red on it. So I'm just carefully getting it lined up there, and it's so small, I'm just kind of fidgeting with it. And then you could do the same with the black, but typically you're going to have the red on top, I think. Anyway, so I'm going to clean up my mess here. I'm getting a card base and a panel, and I'm going to get an embossed panel and bring it in. I'm going to use the newest embossing folder that I have. I can't remember the name of it at the moment, but I'll link everything in the description box below so you can check it out. And I'm going to bring in these Perfect Touch arches because I love them. I think I said on the last video when I used them, you're going to be seeing them a lot because I love these arches, and I think they'll be a lot of fun for a lot of different cards. So what I'm going to do is create a frame here, and I'll get a frame and a centerpiece out of this, and we're going to layer them up. I'm just going to grab some mint tape and get it laid down so my arches don't move on me because I want them to be even on each side. And we'll go to the die cutting machine, and here we've got our arch panel, and I'm just kind of getting it laid on there. And then we have got our centerpiece, and I was thinking I would pop it up in the middle of that, but then I decided that I'm going to also put vellum between it because I did skip an arch with that. And so we'll just layer up our vellum, our pink, and then we'll pop it up. And I'm just going to use my tape runner on this. And I'm using my glass mat to help me get it lined up. And we'll get this laid down on here. So I told you guys I've been taking food to my mom and dad because she's been sick. Well, she got to the doctor yesterday and she's got influenza A, and I guess she's really been suffering. So I checked on her today and asked them if they needed anything else, and she said she thought she was good, and they still had some of the meatloaf left over that I had made for them so that they could eat that if they needed to, and that Dad had gotten some soup and some things that he could easily fix for them. So she thought they were in good shape. So we're trying to keep our distance a little bit until she gets to feeling better, because we don't need to get it. And I'm hoping and praying that my dad doesn't get it. So they've been trying to do things to avoid him getting it, but Hopefully he won't. So here I'm going to bring in some foam tape. We're going to pop up this arch, and then we'll have our base ready for our focal point, and we'll get this card together, and it's going to turn out just lovely. And this is a little bit of a longer video, but we had a lot of steps. We did our die cutting, we did our watercoloring, and we're going to do some better pressing. So it is going to be a little bit of a longer video, but I think the end result is very nice. So I hope that you enjoy it. And if you do, click like. That is helpful to my channel, and I always appreciate it. And feel free to comment. I always respond to my comments, and I really appreciate you spending your time with me. So I've got this laid down, and I probably could have put the panel up a little bit, but it's not going to matter because I've got a white card base back there. So I'm just kind of figuring out how I want to position these leaves. And I think I've lost one, but I've got two of them kind of stuck together, and I'm looking around, and then I realize I didn't lose one of them. They were stuck together. So this is where I'm going to curl those leaves. I'm just going to roll them over that stylus and just kind of bend them, just the tips here and there and everywhere, and just kind of create a little bit more dimension with those leaves and just make them curled a little bit. That stylus there actually has Hero Arts engraved on it, and I have had it for probably, 30 years, I'd guess, because I think I got it, I don't know, when I was doing memory keeping and scrapbooking and all that back in the day. And it looks like perhaps one of my dogs at some point got a hold of it because there are like some teeth marks in it. But it still serves a good purpose, and it works very well with the Susan Tiernery-Cockburn dies because she does a lot of curling and that type of thing with her flowers. And so that's what I've got right there. And I'm just going to add some tape to just help me position this greenery on there until I glue it and lay it down on my card base. I'm just going to put 3 on one side and 3 on the other, and I think it'll work out all right. I think it's going to be really pretty laying on that arch. I really like what I've got going on there. I guess, I really do enjoy working with floral sets. It's something that I'm comfortable with, and I enjoy doing it. Sometimes there are some die sets that I'm not as comfortable with, or it's not my thing as much, but I feel like floral is definitely something that I really like to work with. So I think this looks really pretty. I've got plenty of room for it on there. I'm not going to use that ladybug. And I'm going to bring in my Better Press sentiments and get those pressed. And I'm going to choose a sentiment. And I pressed them all so that I could have some extras when I might need them. I always like to have some sentiments laying around. And I'm just going to get that pushed down on there. And that glue's giving me some wiggle room so I can move it around how I want it. And I'm showing you what the ladybug would look like on one of the stems, but I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to lay it aside. And I'm going to get my sentiment, and we're going to get this ready. So I have got the, let's see what the name of these are. Nature's Botanical Garden sentiments. And I'm going to use those. And I've got some cotton, porcelain, Spellbinders paper here. And I'll just bring in my Better Press. I've got it at A2 size, and I'm just going to get it taped down on there. And we'll get our sentiments laid down on there and stamped and pressed, and we'll be good to go. Again, I just brought in some of that green mint tape, and I'm going to use that. And I'm going to get all of these sentiments laid down. Wasn't certain which one I was going to use, and so I thought I'll just lay them all down, and I'll just ink them all up, and we'll die cut them all out. And then I'll have choices, and I will have some spares to use on my other cards. I do have some additional floral dies that are brand new along with these, and so I'll have these sentiments for the next couple of videos that I make with the floral dies that I have, so it'll come in real handy. So I do choose to use a pink ink. I can't remember what it's called. I'll show it to you. So they will be pink sentiments. So they're probably going to be some pink cards, or something that will look nice with pink. I I don't think I used the strawberry. I can't remember what I used. Anyway, but we'll get these inked up and get them pressed and die cut out. And I'm getting plenty of ink on there, including my little platform, so I have to get it cleaned off. And we'll just lay the little platen down on there, and I'll go to my die cutting machine and we'll press them, and we'll have the big reveal. I always like to have the reveal. And here we go. So we've got all the sentiments. That bloom, happy blooming birthday, it had a little darker color, like there was some ink remnants left on it. So make sure you clean them real good before you use them again. Apparently I didn't. So I'm just thinking I'm going to use You're in My Thoughts. I was kind of eyeballing them. Now here I've got them all die cut out, and I've grabbed that You're in My Thoughts because that's what I was thinking I was going to use, and I think it looks wonderful on there, and it's just the right size for the little area that I have in there. So I'm just going to get some glue, and we're just going to glue this straight down on there. I've got plenty of dimension. I popped up that arch panel, and I've got my flowers laid down on there, and I think it'll be just lovely. Get that pressed down. And I'm going to grab some gems, and I'm going to use the opalescent gems from Spellbinders, and I'll just lay some of those down on there, and it will add some sparkle to this card. I'm just going to put two, and then I'll put two more down, and then I'll put one in that lower corner down there where we've got just a little bit of pink peeking out. And I think it turned out really, really pretty. Let me know what you think. Sometimes you got to chase those little bitty ones around. That's what I'm doing. So I'll lay a tiny one there, and then I'm going to grab another tiny one and put it in the lower corner. And that'll finish up our card. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. Take care, everyone. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye now.